The Mueller team appears to be in the home stretch of its investigation, but many people still question the impartiality of many of the prosecutors. One America's Alex Salvi takes a look at potential conflicts of interest and why you should be concerned regardless of your political affiliation.
Justice Department investigations are important in a democratic government in order to hold our elected officials accountable and to ensure fair practices. Nonpartisan, independent investigations provide checks and balances on our country's leaders and institutions. It's one thing to have a political opinion and another to be a political advocate. Any inference of bias could not only taint an investigation, but the department as a whole, which is why Attorney General Jeff Sessions recused himself. But as it stands, the Justice Department has no official policy for vetting its prosecutors for conflicts of interest or bias. Sessions told the House Judiciary Committee the responsibility of the individual to ensure nothing they do amounts to a conflict of interest that would require a recusal. In other words, the policy is that those with the utmost power in our prosecutorial system are expected to self-report, an unfathomable concept in the private sector. It applies a subjective standard to an important governmental mechanism designed to protect the people of the United States. Without a definition or any clear language, you're left trusting your instincts. So let's do that. At the heart of the investigation is Special Counsel Robert Mueller, appointed by Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. Mueller accepted the position just one day after being interviewed by President Trump, who was looking for a replacement for fired FBI Director James Comey. But Mueller, Rosenstein, and Comey go further back than that. Robert Mueller was the FBI Director during the Uranium One deal back in 2010. Justice Department emails dating back to 2009 show the agency had direct knowledge that Russian officials had compromised the deal using bribes and kickbacks, and just recently issued its first indictment for the crimes to Mark Lambert, the president of a Maryland-based transportation company. Despite having knowledge of this information, Mueller, along with the U.S. Attorney for Maryland at the time, Rod Rosenstein, sealed the investigation into Uranium One. Mueller eventually stepped down as FBI Director, and was then replaced by his protege, James Comey. After Comey's firing, he leaked government documents, resulting in Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein appointing Comey's mentor, Robert Mueller, as special counsel. Today, Rod Rosenstein oversees Mueller's team as it investigates alleged collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government during the 2016 presidential election. As previously mentioned, Rosenstein also oversaw the investigation into the controversial sale of Uranium One while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. The Russian state-owned energy company Rosatom was trying to purchase Uranium One, giving them 20% of the U.S. uranium supply. During the negotiations, former President Bill Clinton was paid $500,000 to speak for a Russian bank with a financial interest in the deal. While he never ended up giving the speech, he did meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The purchase of Uranium One by Rosatom was eventually finalized, and shortly after, the chairman of Uranium One made a $2 million undisclosed donation to the Clinton Foundation. Given the facts of the case, the FBI quietly ended their investigation in 2015, just months before the 2016 presidential election. Another member of the Mueller team with a history of investigating Hillary Clinton is the current Deputy Director of the FBI, Andrew McCabe. At the direction of then Attorney General Loretta Lynch, FBI Director James Comey assigned McCabe to conduct the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails. Just several months before the investigation began, McCabe's wife, Jill, received nearly $700,000 from the Democratic Action Committee of former Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, a longtime Clinton supporter, financing her campaign for a Virginia state Senate seat. As a result, McCabe is currently being investigated by the Inspector General as to whether he should have recused himself from the Clinton email investigation. Those who are skeptical about the political bias of the Mueller team often point to former Obama administration officials. As reported, Loretta Lynch was the Attorney General during the Clinton email investigation and assigned Andrew McCabe as the lead investigator. During the investigation, Lynch met with former President Bill Clinton on a tarmac of a Phoenix airport, just days before FBI Director James Comey said he would not recommend charges against Hillary Clinton for her use of a private server. While the meeting lasted for roughly 45 minutes, both Lynch and Clinton denied discussing the details of the investigation. And just before Comey's announcement, Lynch famously told him to refer to the probe as a matter, not an investigation, presumably for legal and political optics. The law uses certain language to properly define the boundaries people can operate in. Terms like clear and convincing, preponderance of the evidence, beyond a reasonable doubt, they all have precise definitions to determine the standard to be used. People like Peter Strzok understand this concept, as evidenced by his decision to change the wording of Clinton's charges from the criminal designation of grossly negligent, which could result in punitive consequences, to merely extreme carelessness. This language provided a basis for the agency's decision not to prosecute Clinton. But Strzok's political affiliation came to light when reports surfaced of him sending anti-Trump text messages to his mistress, Lisa Page. Lisa Page also worked on the Russia probe for a short time and mentioned conversations with Strzok and Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe. To be fair, their conversations also included derogatory messages about Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. But the anti-Trump text messages discussed a path the FBI could take to prevent Donald Trump from becoming president, and took place at the same time the FBI and DOJ came into possession of the now infamous anti-Trump dossier. The full story of the FBI's involvement with the dossier remains unknown, but some of the players have been presented. Bruce Ohr was the right-hand man of former Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates until she was fired for refusing to carry out President Trump's first travel restrictions. He has since been demoted from his position after reports surfaced he had secretly met with Fusion GPS, the research firm behind the dossier, as well as Christopher Steele, the author of the document. These meetings took place at the same time the FISA application was submitted and granted, with many GOP lawmakers saying the dossier was used as evidence to surveil members of the Trump campaign and administration. But the FBI's ties to the dossier don't end with Bruce Ohr. In fact, his wife, Russian analyst Nellie Ohr, worked for Fusion GPS, conducting opposition research against Donald Trump, now known as the dossier. When this information first surfaced, FBI Director Andrew McCabe canceled his testimony before Congress. Many people who criticize the special counsel look at the actions of these individuals, but it gets more complicated when you try to differentiate political affiliation with political advocacy. Andrew Weissman, for example, the senior advisor on Mueller's team, frequently donates to Democrats and even attended Hillary Clinton's election night party. After President Trump was elected, Justice Department emails show Weissman praised then Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates for refusing to carry out the president's travel restrictions, saying he was, quote, so proud of her. Now, whether that amounts to a conflict of interest remains up for debate, but many people on the Mueller team have more direct ties to opponents of President Trump. Investigator Jeannie Rhee, for example, represented ex-Obama Deputy National Security Advisor Ben Rhodes during Congress's investigation into the 2012 Benghazi attack. Shortly after, she represented the Clinton Foundation in a 2015 racketeering case for its alleged pay-to-play practices. And that same year, Rhee represented Hillary Clinton herself in a lawsuit seeking access to her private emails, before donating thousands of dollars to her campaign. Keep in mind, all of these potential conflicts took place before the Mueller team even began looking at Russian meddling in the presidential election. This is not a partisan issue. Americans should want their institutions to be strong and legitimate in order to make sure the government acts on behalf of the people. Republicans and Democrats alike should want strict vetting procedures for their prosecutors, because your party won't always hold office and your investigators won't always share your beliefs. Our founding fathers wanted to protect us from another tyrannical government, whether it be one king or a group of oligarchs. It's common sense to have a neutral vetting system for our country's top prosecutors. Alex Salvi, One America News.
We can use your help. Call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call today.